this back up. Splendid. All right. Hello. Oh, we're still going live. I'm live. Yay. Okay, I'm back. This is part 2 of the Get Everything Working, and foolishly about 45 minutes before I started streaming this, I asked on a security forum for a bit of help about whether or not this was the right approach at all to get execution working. And I've been pointed at several other projects that will definitely be worth taking a look, including gvisor, Minigel, and the NSGel. So there are some other things I've already discounted because of some either the cost of them or because they just don't fit, I think, what we're trying to achieve here. But that's not to rule them out totally. So anyway, the story this morning was a long time fiddling around trying to get some last lingering isolation bugs fixed in both the decompilers, as in the language D, not the decompilers. We don't have decompilers, but yeah, decompilers. The let me just make sure I can see the chat over here in YouTube. Oh, apparently I can't see. Come on, YouTube. Oh, it's decided to be very funny. I can't see if anyone's looking, but never mind. I will talk to myself. That will be fine. So anyway, yeah, that we had a problem with the decompilers, and so we fixed those. There are several things that were happening there. We also had a problem with the Intel C compiler, which loves to spawn some background threads to do like security checking, to phone in home to Intel and some things like that. And A, we just don't like that, and B, it was causing lingering timeouts on the staging environment. But thankfully, like a knight charging through to save me, one of the other contributors to Compiler Explorer came up with a patch to FireJail. FireJail is the execution sandbox that we're using to just basically work the way that I'd like it to work. So we deployed that patched version. We found a couple of minor issues with it, but I think we're now working. So I was about to test that by clicking reload here. I have just deployed the last of everything, and previously, occasionally this would either error out with an error 15 or it would hang forever. And here we are on the staging site, and things just seem to be working, which is joyous and very relieving. Now, pursuant to the conversation I was having with the security forum, I'm really now wondering if FireJail is the right solution, but we will see. Whichever way I'm going, I really would like to give this a go and see what comes of it, and maybe naively just think to myself that there's nothing really, even if there was a security hole in FireJail, the amount of time that someone would have to find a loophole in the way that we're using it and do any kind of damage with it is small. Certainly if I'm going to deploy this just to beta. Now, what we have at the moment for running the compilers inside FireJail is manifestly and self-evidently a better solution than what we had before. Because if you remember, what I had before for isolating the compilers and trying to make sure that the compilers themselves were not an attack vector for my system was, well, they ran in a Docker container, which gave us some level of isolation. But then there was this horrendous LD preload hack that I had written that was just fatally flawed, and I'm glad to say that we got rid of it. I thought it was a neat trick at the time. It was fine when we had just GCC on the site, but now we've got so many compilers, some of which are statically linked, so the LD preload thing doesn't work anyway. So this is a definite step up. So here we are in staging, and everything is just looking great. I'm going to go to D, and we can run LDC, and we see some output, and it's seemingly mostly demangled. Oh, wait, the demangler's off. There we are. Now it's demangled. That was another problem we were having earlier, is that the demangler wasn't working under the jailed environment. Yep, this looks like it's mostly demangled, although maybe not. No, that's right. We found that the demangler is incorrectly not demangling things, but it wasn't before. So there's definitely a lingering problem with the D language demangler. And I went and explained what demangling was. So if you want to have a look at the stream from earlier, then please take a look at that. I'm not going to go back into it now. So the first thing I'm going to do is, having kind of given this a cursory look around, things seem to be working just peachily. I'm going to say this is worth pushing to production. So that's what we're going to do now. Now, this involved, in order to get the patched version of FireGel into the what's name, into the Amazon image that runs the whole show, I had to build a new Amazon image. So that is currently deployed to staging and beta, and now I'm going to deploy it to production. So we're going to just do that now. So cd dev compiler explorer. I realize actually that I probably have different viewers right now from the ones that I normally have, because this is a very different time now. I've been streaming mostly the very early afternoon, and that is inconvenient for a lot of people who are at work in America, but people who are in Europe have been able to watch and join in because they're already at home. There have been people who actually have been watching this at work, which is baffling to me, but it's great. I don't know if I could concentrate having someone talk about code in my ears while I'm trying to code. It's hard enough just sitting here by myself. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat channel if you have any. And right now I'm just going to apply this change that I've made. So I'm going to do Terraform plan to Planny, as it's always called, which will tell me we should just update. Oh, hello. This plan. Oh, yeah, sorry. Dash out. Sorry, forgetting how to use Terraform here. So we're going to use Terraform to plan the change, which is going to change the base image that gets deployed to the production nodes. Okay, that looks good to me. It's going to make 2 changes because there are 2 different groups that have this particular image in them. So we're going to now apply to Planny. Don't know why dash helps in there. So this is going to be a 2-stage operation. This is because we first of all need to roll out that new version to all of the nodes. Normally when I do a site deploy, I don't bother actually getting fresh nodes. I don't restart the nodes. I just log into each node individually, pause and restart the services running on that node. But here we've actually just changed the base image. So we need it to sorry, I'm being asked questions in a chat channel that's not visible right now. We need it to take effect before I can change the version of the code running it, because it will expect there to be certain command line parameters that don't exist in the version that's on the older nodes now. So this is a manual step. I'd rarely have to do this. So let me just refresh all of this stuff here. And okay, so we have two production nodes running right now, where we can immediately and quickly refresh one of those 2 nodes, because we have 2 auto-scaling groups. When it loads up, we have this spot production. So this is me asking for cheap, fast nodes, but I might not get them. So it's kind of a bidding system. And I should be updating this. There's probably a better way to do this now. Oops, go away. I would like you to be there. So what I'm going to say is I don't want any of those right now. And now it's going to kill one of the nodes that is currently asked for. So we should be able to go back to the instances. But I'm going to count to 20 in my head, and then I'm going to edit it back up to being 1. And that's a really cheesy and nasty quick way of cycling the nodes so that I get a fresh new copy of the node running the new image. And we should be able to tell that once it's up and running. So we've counted to 10 in my head, and then I'm going to say, actually, I would like one of those after all. And once that's taken effect, we can go and have a look here in the instance view, and we should see that there is one C5 large, which is the kind of big expensive machine that I've asked for, shutting down, which there isn't. There it is. Oh, there is now. And then shortly there'll be one starting up. And once that's started up and running and it's happy and everyone says that traffic is routing there, then I know that I've got at least one of the 2 machines that is running the new image. Once that's finished with, we will move over to the other node, restart that one to get a fresh new EC2 instance, and we will then have a fleet of machines that are running with the latest image. And then I can just upgrade the version. The version is easy to do, and that's definitely an automated process. I'm used to doing that. That's the sort of standard way of doing it. So yeah, here comes our C5 large that's being initialized. And then really what this is going to be about today is bringing up the beta environment with the execution support enabled and giving it a bit of a go, because this is what we've been working towards this whole time. Now, again, I said that the FireJail approach might not be the right way of us doing this, but this will be a start, and we can play around with it and see whether or not we even like the look of it. Let's hope we do, because it's been an awful lot of work to get to this stage. But we've been taking everything out of Docker. We've been running everything like normally. We've been we're taking things out of Docker and running them as kind of services directly on the machine, sort of bare metal. It's not bare metal, of course. It's a VM that it's running on inside Amazon. So that is up and running. And then as a result of taking it out of Docker, that means that these other jailing technologies are available to me. And I've been calling them chroots elsewhere because that's kind of in my mind what I think of it as being like a jail, but that's a terrible misnomer. Chroot is not a secure solution to process isolation. There are a whole bunch of other things that need to be done in order to get some level of solution of security between untrusted processes. And of course, there's a million ways to break through these things. I'm just sort of hoping that a combination of making it hard enough plus nothing really to steal. There's nothing that is worth anything other than CPU time, and I don't have very much of that as it is. So that's obviously a concern. But the real worry that I have is that if someone could compromise the site, if someone could break out of the jail with either the compiler or with their own executing code, they could install something to sniff what else everyone else is doing on the system and sort of exfiltrate it in some way. And that's my biggest concern. So I'm looking to eventually lock down the nodes further and put more firewall rules on them so they have fewer and fewer less ability of talking to the outside world. But at the moment they have a fairly general way. Only a few things can talk to them, but in terms of them making connections outbound, they're much easier. They're much more capable. They can make pretty much any outbound request, because I use GitHub to manage some of the installation stuff. And they used to need to be able to pull things down from Docker, and there's a few other bits and pieces. So if you could get onto it, you could potentially write something to look at other people's code, exfiltrate that in some way. Now, I obviously don't want that. I think, though, there is a sort of duty of care that I have towards my users that I take very, very seriously. And I certainly don't look at the code that you send up, and I don't care what you're compiling. I go out to great lengths to try and prevent anyone else from being able to look at it. But, to some extent, if you're sending code that you don't want other people to look at across the internet, then there's a little bit of a caveat emptor there. But especially as I go out of my way to make it as easy as possible for you to run your own local instance of Compiler Explorer. But with all of that, this is my biggest worry, is I don't want people to be able to exfiltrate other people's code. That's a worry of mine. So let's just see how we're doing with that C5 large. We should now be able to look at the target groups for that and see where are we? Prod. We should have 2 targets in here, and they are both healthy. Excellent. So now I know that I can take down the other node without losing the site itself. So we always have 2 of them. So let's go back to our load balancers. And for this one, what do I mean? Auto scaling groups. I always get confused. There are 3 separate pages that I have to go to do one simple thing. And I know that they're logically discrete things, but in my mind, they're all conflated. So we have spot prod, and then we have actual real prod here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to actually give us 2 of these nodes. And that's going to fire us up an additional node. And we can go and sit and watch this appear in here. As I say, this is not normally how site updates are done. This is just because I'm changing the base image. It happens so infrequently that it's been like nearly a year since I changed anything, or actually I don't know if it was a year, but months since I changed anything prior to the last few days. And even then, most of the time I can just get around with rolling the image and let them sort of naturally picking up the new base types. usually because I've like done a apt-get update or whatever on the instances. So by adding a second instance here, I've avoided having to change the minimum of the group here, because I always want exactly one. Sorry, I always want at least one instance running at all times. Otherwise, you're going to get a very sad face when you hit godbot.org. Let's just make sure that we haven't broken anything now while we're talking. Everything seems to be pretty chill here. Oh, I'm getting notifications on my phone, which I don't even have near me. Oh, is that it over there? Yeah, I think my phone's over there. Let me just go grab that, because otherwise it will be sending me alerts all the time. Yeah, I'm getting alerts that instances are coming into being and being destroyed and so on. I don't know why I had my headphones on. I'm not listening to anything there. Let's refresh this. We've got another compiler here. Once this is up, sorry, another instance up here. Once that's up and running, I'm going to just whack this instance here by, detaching it and killing it or something. Or actually, I can just bring the desired number back down to 1 and all should be well. And it should kill the oldest instance. And then I can just double check that both those prod instances have got the right version of FireJail, and then we can do the upgrade, and then we can get on with the meat of today, which is enabling the beta site with actual user mode execution, which will be so exciting. Let's make sure I haven't left anything over here. Might we reply in here? Someone's asking how much load the site is under, and I was just replying that most of the time we run on 2 instances. Under load, I try and keep the load average at like 30% at most, and that means that new instances will get spawned as the average across all the instances goes above 30%. It's a pretty rubbish metric, but usually I can tell it's Monday morning, because that seems to be when we get the most hits, and more instances fire up then to sort of deal with that. And of course, once we start allowing user code to be executed, I could imagine that we might have more load than before. We will see. Okay, let's refresh this. Refreshing. Okay, I'm still surprised that we're not actually seeing a launch configuration stroke template appear there. I'm going to go back to the admin node, which is this one, and do c-n prod instances status. We should be able to see what's going on here in a kind of more CLI fashion. So yeah, there we can see that this second T3 medium, so for the nodes that I paid just to have, like I don't bid on them, I don't ask for the on-demand pricing, I use these cheaper T3 mediums. So they're not as good as the C5 larges, but they're cheap enough for me to just say I will pay full price to make sure there's at least one of these around. That may change, and I can prepay some of this stuff. I can't remember if I've prepaid for a T3 medium. I don't think I have actually. I keep going in and out of whether I should just upgrade to C5 larges across the board, which I should probably just do. But bills to pay and all that. So let's run that again and see if we've got it to healthy. I'm waiting for the ELB status to be healthy, like it is now. Excellent. So now we have 2 healthy versions running, and the ELB is the load balancer, the enterprise or elastic load balancer. That means that Amazon thinks that the node is healthy and it's routing traffic to it. So now I will go to our instances here, and I will edit the auto-scaling group and say, actually, I only want one of these. Pretty soon we should see that one of the instances, which is surplus to requirements, you can see here it's saying, wait a minute, you've got more instances than you ought to have. These should start shutting down, and then we should be in a good spot. A good spot. And what I might just do is pick up this here and paste this in here. We'll have link this is the security forum that I mentioned. Linked this earlier. Where rather belatedly I've asked for help. I think I've learned a valuable lesson here of not just hacking away with something myself and happily kind of pottering along, but in fact I should ask for help a bit earlier on. There are some experts out there who know a lot more about this than I ever will, and I'm lucky enough to be able to reach out and ask them, and I didn't take advantage of that, so more fool me. Okay, so let's run this here. Once we're down to 2 nodes, there we go. I'm going to do CE-env prod. Actually, no, I'm going to do CE-m staging builds list. This will tell us all the builds that are available, and it will tell us that the current version that's running is 4102. So that's the version that I've been testing in the staging environment that I am pretty sure is the right one to go into production. So I always test in the staging environment first. And so that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to say in production builds set current, and 4102 is the version that we've been testing. And there's all sorts of are you sure things that pop up. So I'm going to say yes, it's prod, yes, it's from the master branch. That's exactly what I want it to be. Okay, so now everything is groovy. Nothing has changed though. All I've really done is effectively change a symlink somewhere. And I realise I am not... I really wish I could see the text on the screen here. So I'm just saying testing smiley face there, because my screen has gone funny. I have a laptop screen over here on the right hand side where I keep the things that really shouldn't pop up while I'm in the middle of a screencast, and the screen's gone a bit funny, so I'm not sure if I'm missing things or not, but there you go. All right, so yeah, I've just changed the symlink by that command. That effectively means that when the Compiler Explorer service that's running on an Amazon node restarts, this is the version of the tarball it's going to pull down. So now I actually need to restart the service to pick up that new version. So I'm going to do env prod instances restart. Now this is actually a bit of a misnomer. It's not restarting the image. It's not actually rebooting those machines. It is just literally going on to each machine, and it is doing a sudo service compiler explorer restart. This is amateur hour DevOps for those who have not been following along thus far. Also, if you notice my screen is sort of sepia coloured here, it's something that I've got the operating system to do so that I can actually try and get some sleep after all of this. After sundown, it has the, get rid of the blue light thing, but I've just realised that, of course, it's visible to you folks as well, so sorry about that. Anyway, the scripts are smart enough to know that they shouldn't take down all the nodes at once. They should leave at least one healthy up, and if there's going to ever be like 0, it'll add a new node in first. It'll sit there and wait. So that's the bit that I needed to do, just sort of for good hygiene's case. Now, let's just go to 13.0.1, and we should be able to refresh this and see that it hangs currently. Right, when that restart process is finished, we should be able to come back here and see that everything is lovely, and people can use the Intel compiler all over again, which is, of course, what they wanted. While that's happening, why don't we go and take a look at the sandbox stuff. Now, I'm going to remind myself where we are with this. So there's definitely some to-dos here in the FireJail configuration. So I use different FireJail configurations for 3 different execution profiles. We have general execution, which is used to run all of the compilers. We have wine execution, which has some magic special, God help me, stuff to get wine running in a jailed environment in a way that means that it starts up in a small amount of time. And if you've been following along for the last few days, you'll know that that has sunk a significant amount of my time. Hi, Beef Viper. Oh, good. I'm not all alone. I'm glad to hear that. We have then also got this sandbox profile, which is the one we're going to use to run arbitrary user executables. They all share this standard set of things, which turns off almost everything. Right? There's an awful lot of things that have been turned off. We have no shell, we have no mounting, we've blacklisted everything I can possibly think of, all the things I trawled from the FireJail standard configuration. We whitelist opt compiler explorer, which has the side effect of blacklisting everything else in /opt. We make sure it's read-only. And even though I say we make sure it's read-only, the whole file system is literally mounted on the machine read-only, so it's never going to be changeable, theoretically. On top of that, for the sandbox profile, we give it its own private temporary directory. It has an empty /bin, so there's literally no executables on the system, which might be a problem. We might have to change this. We might have to relax this in order to get things like the dynamic linker to work. We have an empty /etc. Some memory deny write execute. We can't map anything and make it writable or anything like that. Ideally, I'd like to now allow ptrace, but there's a number of reasons why that's currently not a good idea. Hey, again. So to bring you up to date, Juvenal, I have currently gone with a workaround, and I'm deploying that just for now, and we'll come up with a better version when we have something better. So like at the moment, the thing that I patched locally, I actually just canonified and made good enough for now, because the only time I really care about changing into that current work directory is when we actually have a specific current working directory. Sorry, that was just for the purposes of someone who's just joined us in the chat there. Excuse me. And then we've got these limits here. Now, ideally, we would like to limit the number of processes that this environment can sustain. But it doesn't look like we can stop it. So if I actually limit this nproc, it seems to count all of the processes owned by that user. So it just basically dies instantly unless I make it thousands. So that's worth looking into, because otherwise we're at the mercy of someone who is going to write a fork bomb. And a fork bomb is just something which tries to spawn as many processes as possible in the hope of consuming all the resources on the machine, which is a denial of service attack, and I don't really want that. So there's definitely some environment laundering we might want to think about. And I'm limiting the size of files and the number of files that can be created and opened at once, which is cool. So there's a few things there. Let's have a look at exec.js and look at the sandbox implementation here, because there were some other to-dos in the code, as I recall. So sandbox. Oh, there's too many things called sandbox in here. So sandbox. So we either have execute or sandbox FireGel. So here, I think these to-dos may actually be gone now. So we get the exec path and exec name. To do debug. If not, then yeah, I think actually this is probably doing the right thing. I should probably add in here the new things that we added, which were, what is it? Private CWD, which is the thing that Austin added, which is fabulous. So this means that even the private, sorry, the executable, no current working directory. No, we're going to just leave that as it is. Hack for now. Fine, we're leaving that exactly as it is. That's the hack we're using elsewhere. So we're saying quiet. We're using this sandboxing profile. We're going to say no. The path that the executable is currently in is the working path. We're going to say and change to that directory. So we're going to start in that and run /exec name. That's exactly what we wanted it to do. And then we've got these two other commands: deterministic exit code and terminate orphans. I think those are probably a good thing to do as well. So we're going to throw those in because why not? So deterministic exit code means that the exit code of the FireGel process is that of the first and main executable it runs, not any other things it forks afterwards. And terminate orphans means that when the main process dies, all of the child processes are killed as well. And that's what we want. We don't want one thing to fork and then disappear off, I think. We'll see. So first of all, let's test this locally. So I'm going to go to my local.properties, execute.local.properties. And we should see that, yes, my sandbox type is FireGel and my execution type is FireGel. Excellent. So we should... Okay, we're still in production, we're still updating over there. We should now be able to go into Compiler Explorer and do git status and do a make dev. Yes, I don't see why we wouldn't want to run the debug. So for the those that have just joined me in the chat, I've been talking in a security channel, and there's potential that we might want to move to a different isolation technology. All of this work has been extremely valuable, though, because it's got us to the point where I think we can switch out any isolation technology without too much extra effort. But we're just gonna, the goal for today is to get it working enough locally and then deploy it and test it in the beta environment and get at least some level of yay, we're there feeling. So I'm going to try and close out some of these windows. Oh, I think I'm going to close this. Fixed thanks to AP Morton. Close and comment. And just to test that. Yay. Okay, so that's the one, that's localhost, darn it, yes. I realize I closed that bug before it's actually finished deploying, haven't I? I should go back and double check that. Okay, so we've built Square. So let's have int main, and we're going to say return 4, because why would you not have such an exciting thingamajig? All right, so for some reason I can't actually build with the Intel compiler here. I can't build binary, and I'm not sure why. And seeing as I only have choices of binary, oh no, it's just the 1301 I can't build binary. And if I can't build binary, I can't execute it. But on my local copy at least, I can click execute the binary. And immediately we're seeing a bunch of things that are different, right? So first of all, my info here is clearly wrong. Sandbox execution via FireJail, and then something which doesn't look right. So the logging line is not right. So actually just close you, because that's confusing. So this would be an exec.js. I was just going to search for it, but why don't I look? Via FireJail command, args. Right. This is a logging change. I changed the logging system, and now unfortunately I have to put a single object there, which takes both of the parameters. Otherwise we just get it expanded out as if it was an array, which is no use to anybody. Okay, so that's one improvement already. Great progress. So compiler returns 0, program returns 255. Clearly that is not the case. Now also, kill processing time exceeded. Now I think that's more down to the fact that it was actually rerunning Webpack. So let's run it again and see what we get. There. Alright, so that's what we were seeing before. So let's take a look at the debug. We've got FireJail and it is running ICC. That'll work lovely. And then we're doing sandbox execution via FireJail. Output.s, execution type that. Exited code 255. And we didn't get any information as to why that was the case. So that's unfortunate. But it could easily be because we need to give it like LDD and some libraries like that, because frankly it's impossible. It's okay, I see if you need. Sorry, my son's just come up. You alright? You sure? My youngest son wanted a hug before he goes to bed. So my guess is what we're really seeing here is that the code 255 here is like LDD or the any number of things that are needed to get it to work not being available. But it would be nice to actually see some output that tells us that, right? So what I'm going to do is start from the beginning and go back to this, and I'm going to turn off the sandbox type and leave it as sandbox type none, which means it's just going to execute it directly and make sure that there's no like lingering problems with just executing stuff without bringing sandboxes into it. Sandboxen. So let's click this. And program returned to -1. Isn't that interesting? It's a different error code, but it's really the same error code, because if I remember rightly, there is only really an 8-bit return value from Linux processes, so it would not be too surprising to learn that that 255 is just -1 that's been laundered through various processes that and off bits associated with it. So I don't know what happened there and why we're not seeing programmed returned 4 there. Let's redo it and just have a look over here. So OK to cache, exited code null. So we're getting null there. What does null mean? Deterministic. Oh, it's still. Oh, that's C++ filter. I'm sorry. Sandbox execution sandbox disabled. Code execution exited. Code 0. So program returned -1 does not seem to be a correct message from what I can see. So I'm glad I tested this. This seems odd. Oh, this is filed under the category of I'm sure this was working before. So sandbox disabled, return execute direct. Execute direct has all this stuff. This is the same thing I used to run the compiler, so I can't see how this could fail. But I also am not naive enough to think that that's the case. This is execution type exited code 0. Type exited code 0. And it says running equals false exited, and so it's on close. So we should see exited, and then somewhere should be close. And what do we say? Close. Execution type executed. So exited is one thing, executed is there. Well, why don't we get executed? That's odd. I'm seeing this. Thank you. Firegel does indeed only return the lower 8 bits, so that explains why we're seeing 255 instead of -1. So it seems like the right answer is being given by Firegel, but we're not seeing the correct answer, as it were. So this is saying using cached package, yada, 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 yada. So I think that means that I can actually just go and have a look on my hard disk for that directory. And what is that? It is gzip compressed data. Yay! Yay for caching. So we're gonna zcat that to blah, and where I can say what the heck is blah. It's a tar archive. Okay, yeah, tar xf blah xvf blah output.s. Okay, so there we are. I've been able to get back the output.s that we were running before. So output.s. Ha ha ha. Well, well, well. Apparently my compiled binary, and bear in mind I'm using ICC here, so I wouldn't normally be using ICC, but I'm being lazy here, is getting a seg fault. Now, I should be seeing that in... Yeah, I am seeing that. Is that... Yeah, okay. Bad rip value, bad rip value. So if I'd have looked in my logs, I'd have seen that actually that was seg faulting, and that's what we were seeing. That's unfortunate, because obviously we want to see... oh my gosh, it's seg faulted, rather than just kind of go, error 255 or error -1. So that's not a good thing. But why is this seg faulting? That is annoying. Oh my word, it just doesn't look like it's a well-formed executable. This is a mystery I would really prefer not to have to solve, you know. It looks like the compiler has just generated bogus output, but that seems unlikely. You know, the fact that if I run GDB on it, and we run it, and it dies here at some invalid location, and it was called from this location here, apparently without even like starting up, implies to me that some like global initialization thing is not working here. So that's a bit of a problem. Chalk one up to what the heck is going on here. And instead I'm going to go back and I'm going to enable all the other compilers, because I'd like to at least see something work nicely. And if Intel's compiler doesn't work and generate viable binaries, that's a separate problem. So, whoops, I'm going to go to compile, no, c++.local.properties, and I'm just going to add in the GCC ones, GCC ones, and hopefully that should bring GCC into the picture. And now we should be able to, well, I have to refresh the page, obviously. That's one thing that doesn't get reloaded is the list of compilers. It's assumed that those don't change all that often. It's one of the few things I actually cache for a decent amount of time as well. God, 40 minutes in and we're already not got anywhere. Did this finish okay? It did. All right. Let's take a rain check for a moment and just make sure that on prod the ICC 1301 is working so that Austin's hard work can be proven to be right. I've already closed the bug. Whoops. Yay! It's working. So this I've closed and is now actually, it was right for me to have closed it. So thank you, Austin. That is such an awesome improvement already. Hooray. Okay. Let's get off of that machine. And let's now go and pick GCC 8. Sure. So there's my GCC 8. Program returned 4. That's what we wanted to see. Is like, hey, we're actually doing something here. So now we have a mystery of why doesn't Intel's compiler generate decent executables, and it could be probably like more like an LD library path thing would be my guess. I bet you it's using the wrong version of libgc or libstdc or something like that, and there's some horrible crash in the startup. But normally you get link errors for that, but I can also imagine that Intel's compiler doesn't necessarily generate the right versioning information. I don't know, a real clutching at straws there. But if we have got GCC working, let's go to the execution local properties and turn FireJail back on for sandboxing the execution. So we'll let everything restart. And then we'll rerun this. Oh. Tried to get an executable from cache, but got an error. There's another one of those log lines that needs to be updated. I thought I got them all, but obviously I failed. But more importantly, in the background, it looks like it's actually working. Let's just find that. Got an error, comma, error. Oh, it's a string, is it? That's terrible. Whatever, that should do the trick anyway. So it says executable space not space found in cache. All right, well, fine. That's a different mystery. But we're returning, that's brilliant. So let's go and do what the next obvious thing to do, which is the, use the absolutely god-awful streaming interface to do what everyone is going to do straight away. That's it. That's all we wanted to see, really. Now, it's weird that the program output here is indented. But maybe that's okay. That seems all right, It's just working. So let's redo return 0. Now, what I'd like for it to happen, of course, is if I were to do something like this, never do this, that it crashes nicely. Oh. Or if I actually type valid C++ code or C code, go. So program return 255 is not an ideal solution to the it's seg faulted. I don't know why we don't get told that. I don't know why FireJail doesn't tell us that. That's an unfortunate side effect. But it also didn't look like we were being told that by when we weren't running it under FireJail either. Yay, beers, exactly. So that is a mystery to be solved. Now we can start bringing up a list of things what are broken with execution. So let me start this list. And we're going to say execution. We've got two things, right? ICC doesn't work. Right, we've got crashes, no feedback, only error 255, which is not what we want to see. I'd like to see segmentation violation there. Thank you very much. And then, of course, there's every security issue known to mankind that we now get. So was it unistud.h? Unistud.h system ls Now this shouldn't work because where does Grr. I always forget. Stdlib. Of course it's stdlib. Well, we can at least make it a C++ type thing, right? C stdlib. Makes it C++, right? So with warn unused result, don't care. Program returns 0. Yes, so we're actually going to return that, and then it will shut the thing up, and it should also tell us that there is an error, return 2. So what we're actually going to do here is if system ls return errno, else return 0. And we can see that the error number should be there is no such thing as, oh, town, please. Oh, it's C errno. We can't try to think. Program returned 2. I'm surprised by that. Oh, I mean, this should be not, shouldn't it? No. Errno of 2. Oh, it is. That's right. It's ENO-N. That's exactly what we wanted, which is no such file or directory, which is exactly what happens because there is no ls in this environment. There's just no file system. There's hardly anything for it to play with, which just makes me feel happy. So, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I am going to take a look at what changes we have locally. I'm going to look at what I have in terms of enabling or disabling execution, and I'm going to try this in the beta environment. And then you also, fair viewer, can, at least live stream viewer, can have a chance to play with it briefly and see if you can't get it to break, because that would be fun, right? So inside the configuration, I would probably have a execution.amazon.properties. And then beta.properties, no, somewhere in here, execution default.properties. Where is the thing that actually enables? I think it's in compiler explorer.properties. Compile explorer.defaults.properties, and we executable cache configuration somewhere in here. Maybe it's not in that. Let's see if it's turned off in the Amazon properties. Let's have a look here. Supports execute equals false. That's the one I was looking for. So now we're going to go to the beta properties, and scary as heck, we're going to turn supports execute equals true on in beta. Yay. And I've just had a reminder that I'm supposed to be doing something else this evening, but I'm just too darn excited about getting this working. See if I've had any further... oh, I need to look at that later. Okay, so let's see what we have. We have... we've fixed up some error stuff. We've turned on beta support. That seems like enough. I'm going to make sure that's a separate check-in. So let's do add lib. Not add lib, but add lib. And this is minor logging fixes and use new command line flags for sandbox. -n, because we know that that's not going to fix the tests or do anything with the tests, but I will check it before I push them. Oh well, I'll let this one complete. And this is enable execution in beta environment. I think that deserves an exclamation point, right? And we're now a few minutes away from getting this working, which is about the time that I'd given myself for this. Took a bit longer to get production up and running, of course. Okay, I'm going to push that. For those that have not seen this before now, what happens is that we have a continuous integration server in Travis that's going to build a version of the code. And for those who are watching earlier today, I have not actually made good on my promise to clean everything up, so this is going to take a while again. We did some changes this morning, which I could undo now because of some other things that Austin fixed for me. But yeah, anyway, we can speed this build up now. There's a bunch of things we're doing we don't need to do. So, but it's still going to take about 5 minutes. So I'm going to keep talking to myself while it goes. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set current in the beta environment. Actually, I'm going to bring down the staging environment. We don't need it anymore. So environment stop. Environment stop. Brilliant. So staging is now going to sleep. Again, not to run my bill up too much. Very cold tea there. Gosh, it's been a long day. Wonder what cache error is. Oh, build cache maybe. Yeah, that Intel compiler one. I wonder what's going on with that. You know I'm going to get so many bugs for this, but that's kind of why the beta site exists. This allows me to deploy this to beta, turn it on and off from time to time, ask people for feedback, see what terrors people discover by running things on the site, and but carefully. I mean, most importantly of all, anything that goes on the beta site should not affect anything that goes on the production site, because we just don't want folks who are just happily and merrily using Compiler Explorer for its initial purpose to be affected. So while I'm waiting for that to do it, I suppose I should talk about the things that need to be done after this. Of course, at the moment, when we are taking code like this and building it over here, we're actually having to compile it twice. So Compiler Explorer by default just runs through the compiler with the -S, which says, and just output the assembly code. I don't compile it to binary and then disassemble it unless you tick this 11010, which apparently isn't working out because this is my local version and I'm not running it at the moment. I just stopped it. So the reason for that is that the compiler's own output, the compiler's own -S output, contains more useful information than assembling it and then disassembling. We lose information doing that. Obviously, we don't have the opcodes, which is why we have the option to have binary mode. But by default, I don't run the assembler because I want to show those comments that the compiler injects into here, and I want to parse out the directives that the compiler puts in, which lets me do this sort of tracing of colored backgrounds that you see, amongst other things. However, if we're going to execute it as well, then we definitely need to do a binary build. So if you only care about running the code, then at the moment, 2 compiles are happening and 1 execute, and one of those compiles is superfluous. So I'd like to get a UI pane where I can have a compiler like this, and it doesn't have this output at all, but instead just has the options that you passes to the executable, and maybe even some file that you could write to, or some standard in type thing. Not sure about save assembly output as well as normal. Yes, that is almost certainly true. I realize there's like -save temps and things like that you can do. Maybe there's some other things, but getting a generalized solution for every compiler is tricky, but also unnecessary here. So I think this can be solved by UI under most circumstances. We obviously use a lot of caching as well behind the scenes to try and help this. You know, at the moment, if I just tick this a.a.out, for a start, that's a very unhelpful button. But there's no way of putting command line flags that will be passed to the executable. So some UI overhauling is required. There's also, wherever there's a patched version of Compiler Explorer around on the website by Steve Iyer that uses that allows you to type in Clang query commands and query the compiler, the Clang query command, which I hadn't heard of before, to sort of ask about the parse tree that Clang has picked up. And that's cool, but it's a similar thing to that. It's like something which doesn't need to compile the executable in the normal way. It needs to have some kind of input pane as well as an output pane. So there's some UI work that needs to be done for this. Now, have I covered for enough time here? Not quite. We're close to it being there though. So let's start the command here. Env beta builds set current 4103. Oh, that's beta and master. Right, now I think, did I have something to check in here from this Compiler Explorer image? Yes, just that. So we're all using the right Amazon machine image. So this is just update AMI for prod. This is what we did earlier. It's already taken effect. That's one of the things where I actually have to apply it locally. And now I'm going to do c-env environment start. So we're going to start up the beta site, and it will just start with that new version. And so c-env beta instances status. Might as well leave that running while I'm talking. Oh, golly, I am tired. It's 10 p.m. here, and I've been at this and talking rather too much. I think I've overdone it today. And I've promised myself to do a run-through of a talk that I'm giving at the weekend. Whoops. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow also I promised to do a C++ stream. But yeah. So now we're waiting for the beta instance to start up. And then we're going to kick the tires a bit and see what happens. And if it doesn't look too dreadful, maybe I'll tweet about it and see if anyone comes up with anything. But maybe that's dangerous. Maybe I should turn it on while I'm awake, because otherwise if I turn the beta site on and find some egregious hole in it, then me being asleep is not going to be very helpful. So this has not been the most high energy podcast, screencast, or podcast. But we have reached an important milestone. There's my phone telling me that an instance is alive, and we can see it appearing now on the status screen. Service running, ELB is still waiting. So we can go and actually have a look at the, not personal thing, paper trail. Begins with P still. All systems, and we want to go here. We want to type in, what do I want to type in? I want to do amazon.beta to filter. So it's off running all the compilers to get their version numbers out. So now ELB has gone unhealthy. Now this is perhaps something we need to tweak around with this. This startup is just so long. So hopefully it goes healthy before the ELB decides to kill it. I think we've got all the timeouts turned up high enough that it has to be unhealthy for a long while before it actually gets killed, which is another problem. So we're on the Rust compilers. Come on. It's going to be so anticlimactic as well, as because it'll look exactly like this, except it'll have the word beta here, and you'll be able to test it too. Okay, so there go the D compilers. Yeah, it runs every compiler because it tries to be generic. I try to run -- version so that I can give the exact version of the compiler that you're currently executing. So for example, if we go to godbot.org right now, this is the live site. You should see down here, this is the version string the compiler gives me. So if whatever I called it in the text up here, GCC trunk, for example. Oh, that's not the right one. Somewhere in here, we should get the exact version. I thought it was there. Oh, there it is. So yeah, we get to see the actual compiler version the compiler actually runs. Plus, I then run help and help target, and I try and parse out and make it as automated as possible so that I detect whether it has Intel syntax and what command I need to use to actually turn on Intel syntax or not. Plus, does it support binary? Those kinds of things. It is silly. It is silly. It takes a very long time, especially when all your compilers are off in the hinterlands of EFS. But everything has now finished. So are you ready? Are you ready for this? We're still unhealthy though on the right hand side, so I'm gonna avoid clicking this. Yes, information could be cached. Yeah, if only if the compiler changes. That's a very good point, and given the amount of caching we do elsewhere, it's a very sensible thing to do. So the observation in the chat window was like, basically look at the timestamp of the compiler and cache on S3 or something. It'd have to be something persistent like S3 because there is obviously instances die and come back all the time, and so we can't just cache it locally. Otherwise, it doesn't really save us very much. But yeah, we should be able to like grab that information. I'm going to go to this site, but it's still not up yet because it's telling me that ELB is still unhealthy. This is probably all cached. So until the ELB declares victory on the right hand side, I'm not going to push it. But we have seen there's our A.out. So we're close now. Come ELB, do your magic. Alrighty. Worrying me slightly that it hasn't. Oh, but these things have all hit. So I declare. I reckon that's out of date. I'm not sure why it's not updating. Let's do it. Execute the binary. Hurrah! Undefined reference to _main. Well, that's because there isn't one. On the site, return 3. Program returned 3. All right then. So internets, or rather us sort of 6 people that are currently looking at this, you are the only human beings that know that this is currently alive and well, and you should go and make it, try and break it, and I will not hold it against you. You have my word. So let's do my IOStream thing. In fact, let's just go copy it from here because I'm far too lazy to actually... Oh. There you are, that's how lazy I am. I call dibs on the first hello world. There it is, hello world. Sudo command leaks some command line stuff. So, can you clarify what you mean by sudo command leaks and command line stuff there, Austin? So long as nothing private gets passed to node via command line. So, oh, you mean if you don't want to look at the environment or the... Thank you. All right. So I've had a link sent to me, which I should go and check, and I have too many chat programs open at once. I don't see the link. I am probably having a bad moment, though. Oh, maybe you emailed me. I will check that in a bit. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't think I deliberately... no, I don't see... But as you can tell, I'm running out of steam very, very much. You said you sent a link. I'm not sure where you sent the link to, Austin, I'm afraid. I can't see it. Is it Twitter? No. Don't see it on CPP Lang. Oh, is it? Yeah, oh, it's been filtered. Ah, I'm sorry. Thank you. So it was sent on YouTube, but it's been filtered, and I wish I had the chops to know how to modify that or to help you in that, but I don't, unfortunately. And more importantly, I now can't find YouTube. I've managed to alt-tab away from it. Okay, if I put this to live chat. Oh yeah, there is a link there. Thank you. I had to change the live control room. I'm going to bring this over here for all to see. So, yeah, look at that. There's the environment. Now, this was cool. So there was a to-do, if you remember, in the sandbox that said we should probably get rid of some of the command line arguments. So let's, sorry, the environment variables. So let's take a look here. What do we got? We've got sudo command. Oh, that's interesting. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there is some things in there that shouldn't be there. Those log hosts, for example, are hardly the most sensitive thing in the world, because for the longest time they were checked in, and the worst that you can do is send extra logging to my account, which I don't care about. But it looks like we should get rid of that. I suggest, yeah, that that sounds like an obvious thing to put already into the etc. fire jail sandbox.profile, launder the environment. So there was something to do with that. Let's man fire jail, and we'll finish up on this because I think I'm done. You've been very patient. Set environment variable in the new sandbox. Remove rmenv, I think is what we need to do here. Rmenv sudo command. I wonder what else we should do. That's a neat little tiny program that you've written there, by the way. That's great. I love it. Oh, what else is done? Oh, apparently another node is either dying or coming back or something. Yeah, so I think we can get rid of all of those. I wish I could get rid of everything, really. But I'm sure some of these are important for it to know. Sudo user, sudo uid. I wonder what that's used for, you know. I know we're running sudo, but I mean, maybe we shouldn't be using sudo. Maybe I should use su. You're a very honest person. Thank you. All right, everybody. I'm going to test this locally because I think I'm done here, because that is great. I will probably leave it up until I go to bed. So please feel free to bang on the door a bit, poke around, see if you can't get any other weird things to happen in it. There's any number of reasons why everything else will stop working. I mean, let's just try this. You know, compiler to that. Okay, that doesn't even execute. That's fine. You know, clang. I guess we should try clang. Clang trunk. What do you have to say, clang trunk? The same thing. Oh, it's nice. I mean, it's hardly good UI, but it's a step in the right direction, and thank you for being on the journey with me to get to this point. Sort of anticlimactic now, because I feel there's so many other things that we need to work on, and we may even replace FireJail based on what other people have been saying. So all I can say is thank you for watching, and I appreciate again your company, and that for you being here, and I will be back with more energy at a later date, and at some stage tomorrow I will do a C++ chat, as that seems to be more what people are interested in. So, but thank you for being